what they want.
You know, I remember, Mr. Secretary, going to work every day, thinking what an extraordinary time it was. The Cold War was ending. That great threat, that sword of Damocles, as President Kennedy talked about, was vanishing. We were effective in the world. We were respected. We were getting things done. We were on the verge of this big achievement that I want to ask you about in this concluding question. A very different time, say, than now, or any time in the last 10 years. Any reflections on that?
Well, you know, I say, and I said in my memoirs, I think I said, this was an extraordinary time to be Secretary of State of the United States. The Cold War had ended. We'd won it after 40 years. Everybody in the world wanted to get close to Uncle Whiskers. I mean, we were it. And it was a very, very good time to be Secretary of State, because you had some leverage that you don't have, that you don't always have. We don't have that leverage today. And so we set about trying to take advantage of that. And if we hadn't had that, I'm not at all sure that that the Cold War, we could have presided over a peaceful end of the Cold War, or that we could have done German unification, or the Madrid Peace Conference, or the coalition to eject Iraq from Kuwait. But everybody wanted, and so we had strength, and we used that strength in an appropriate way, I think.
Right. Mr. Secretary, we talked earlier this morning about what's your 5,000-foot view of this achievement and of this issue of German unification. Now, I would say, just to frame this, there's really no one like you in American politics. You had a unique career. You managed 5 presidential campaigns, Undersecretary of Commerce, Secretary of the Treasury. You had a consequential negotiation, the Plaza negotiations, among others. And then, of course, as Secretary of State at the most interesting and important time in our recent history. Where does this achievement of German unification in NATO rank for you in all the things that you accomplished in your career?
Well, I think, first of all, let me say that something I haven't said yet. I also think one reason I had some of the success I had in negotiating was because I had run those 5 presidential campaigns. I learned a lot as a commercial lawyer, doing mergers and acquisitions and so forth about negotiating. You learn a lot about negotiating and running presidential campaigns, let me tell you. You learn how to be decisive. You learn when to pull back, when to push forward, and so forth. But I think that the German unification will be seen to be quite an accomplishment, given the narrow window of opportunity that we had to get it done, and given the opposition of most of our allies and the steadfast opposition of the Soviet Union. If the Soviet Union had not been so decrepit economically, I'm not sure we would have gotten it done. I don't know, but we might have. And that's why I keep harking back to getting our economic house in order in this country. You can't, if you're going to be strong politically, militarily, or diplomatically, you got to be strong economically. And our economy in this country is what's been the basis of our strength.
Well, you're too modest to say this, so I'll say it. I think, from my perspective, if you look back at the last 40 years, and we're just celebrating the 40th anniversary of the opening to China, I think opening to China, Henry Kissinger and Richard Nixon, and German unification in NATO are the 2 supreme achievements of American diplomacy, because they changed the way the world was structured in a positive way, and they opened up new possibilities.
Well, changed it, and without a shot being fired, both of them.
In both cases.
Something intrigued me about the way you described your background leading to Secretary of State. You were a commercial lawyer and focused on transactions. And when we teach about negotiation, it's often about transactions. But managing campaigns, when you look at the complexity of these negotiations, it's as if there are a bunch of different fronts. There's the Russian front and the European front and the US government and the broader domestic front. And these fronts have to be orchestrated toward a target deal with enough support. I wonder do you see analogies between managing a political campaign and a negotiation campaign?
Well, I see a lot. What I was trying to say a minute ago is there's a lot of negotiating, I think, that goes into managing presidential campaigns. You have a lot of discord. Usually, campaigns have a lot of backbiting and fighting and things like that. And you see that a lot in government. I mean, Nick knows very well. And so you learn how to head those problems off at the pass. And I think those experiences were very, very important to me in terms of what we were able to accomplish. Again, I think the most important thing was my relationship with my president. When I went out somewhere and talked to a foreign leader, they knew I was speaking for him. There were never any questions about it. And there wasn't anybody back here at home questioning what I said, or at least not questioning it on the record. They might try and question it on background or something, but we'd usually ferret out who they were and take care of it.
So let's